Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. Our headline for the month is Positive Trends in Real Estate Begin the Fiscal Year. Our fiscal year at the county begins on July 1st. So I'm reporting on the July numbers of recordings at the Registry of Deeds. This show is being taped in August. I have a great guest coming on the second segment of the show, Steve Damon, President and Chairperson of the South Shore Board of Realtors, who works for Jack Conway and Company full-time, and we're going to talk about some of our great Plymouth County history. But let's go right to the numbers. So the sales of property in Plymouth County were once again very strong. We recorded 1,130 deeds in July, less than the 1,295 recorded in June, up 12% from last July, and for the first 7 months of the year, been pretty stable, slightly up. Mortgages are a little different. Well, we did record a lot of mortgages in July. There were 1,798 mortgages recorded. They were less than the 1,923 in June, up 3% compared to last July, but for 7 months of the year, they're down 8%. When interest rates took a little bump, people were still using mortgages to purchase property, but a lot of people stopped refinancing their loans, and that has caused somewhat of a drop in mortgages. The next document you're going to see in the bar chart is foreclosure deeds. There are only 37 foreclosure deeds in July, less than the 67 in June, 21% less than last June, and through 7 months of 2018, 12% lower than last time. Lower foreclosure deeds and notices is a good thing. Foreclosure notice is the first document we receive at the registry that shows someone's in trouble. There were 56 recorded in July, down from the 65 in June, 14% less than last July, and year-to-date down 2%, I'm sorry. So there's a chart on foreclosure notices and deeds by community. Plymouth County is made up of 27 communities. The city of Brockton and the towns of Plymouth and Wareham have been those communities most beset by foreclosures, but even those communities are dropping, which is a good thing. I will note that our ability to search online through our linked index has made some advancements, and you now can search all the way back to 1764. We're working to get all the way back to 1685, the founding of the county. We run a free training room at the training program at the registry in our training room the first Thursday of every month. The next one will be Thursday, September 6th at 9 o'clock. If you're interested, call our office to register. It's a great hands-on experience. Beware, there's a free property fraud alert on our website, and be aware of any schemes out there or scams relative to the real estate market. Many companies will try to get you to pay a lot of money to get a copy of your deed. You can get a copy of your deed at one of our offices for $1 a page. And my guest on the next show is Steve Damon, President and Chairperson of the South Shore Realtors. He works full-time for Jack Conway and Company in the Bridgewater office. And we'll have a great discussion with him. See you in the next segment. Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we always try to do something educational in nature. We've had commercial real estate brokers, appraisers, assessors, but above all else, we've had a great group of realtors, and I have one of their leaders today. I have Steve Damon, who is the president and chairperson of the South Shore Board of Realtors. Welcome, Steve.
John, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Who works full-time for Jack Conway Realtors.
Yes.
So welcome. I know you've been on the show before.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back. It's definitely nice to be sitting in air conditioning.
It is.
It is toasty outside.
When you see this show, you may not remember it, but it was like 98 on this day in July.
It's unbelievable out there right now.
Yeah. So let's tell our viewers a little bit about your background and how you got into the real estate business.
Well, in my younger days, I ran a communications business for about 15, 20 years. And got to the point that I needed to simplify things a little, so I figured, well, real estate sounded like a good idea. So I got my license in 1991 and went to work for Jack Conway at that point, and I've been there for the last 25 plus years.
Great.
Found it to be very rewarding. One of the nice things is you're responsible for yourself. You can kind of set your own schedule. There's no limit on what you can earn if you want to get out there and work at it. And it's been a good business. I've met a lot of people, a lot of friends, and I've enjoyed it.
So you're in two roles today. Let's talk about the first one and talk about South Shore Realtors. There was a name change about 2 years ago now?
Well, actually, yeah, it was the Plymouth South Shore Board of Realtors, and then 2.5 years ago, it changed to South Shore Realtors.
Okay.
And then along with the change, we brought in a new CEO who had a lot of experience in real estate. She had been with the National Association of Realtors in Chicago. And she came out here, took the job as the CEO, and under her tutelage, South Shore Realtors has been going through a big change in the last 2 years. New websites, new education programs, just a ton of change to better serve our realtor members.
So I know that you are a very large organization. In Massachusetts, you're the second largest board of realtors after Greater Boston. And
we have right just shy of 3,000 members right now.
Great.
And it's a very active group. A lot of community things going on. It's one thing about realtors. You give back to the community. I mean, you have a job that puts you in touch with a lot of people, and it just comes naturally to take and do your part to give back, and it's a big thing with the realtor organization, and South Shore Realtors has been a leader in that.
And I know you've been a great promoter of the brand Realtor.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say that most of the agents in this area are realtors, and it puts a standard of doing business on the agents that is higher than somebody that just got a license and did not join the association. Our code of ethics demands that we act in a professional way. We're handling usually the largest single investment that people will make in their lifetime. That investment is usually tied a lot to their retirement. And they need to know that the real estate agents that's handling that knows what they're doing and is going to be very professional and ethical in how they do their job.
So can you talk a little bit about your location and some of the programs you offer to realtors?
The South Shore Realtors, we basically cover the South Shore from Braintree down to the canal. We don't cross over onto the Cape. 24 communities that we serve in that area. We offer a lot of continuing education classes as a real estate agent. Your license is renewed every 2 years, so you have to complete 12 hours of continuing education during that 2-year period. And we offer a lot of those classes for free, so that it's just a little more convenient for the agents. We also offer for free the Code of Ethics training. The National Association of Realtors require that as agents we go through this course every 2 years. This way it keeps it fresh in everybody's mind exactly what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to do it.
So what are the trending issues right now for your organization? I know in the past, we talked about maintaining the home buyer's tax credit when it was up for consideration by Congress. Anything hot right now?
Well, the hot topics right now are flood insurance, Airbnb are probably the two biggies.
Okay.
Flood insurance, the national Congress on a national level has extended it to November 30th. We want a long-term extension. It seems like every time that this comes up, it's a short-term fix, another short-term fix.
So by extending it, are you talking about the floodplain maps and the?
Yeah, just the flood insurance coverage.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Without the flood insurance company, there are something like 20,000 different communities across the country that are, I would say, heavily or adversely affected by the fact that you don't have flood insurance. A lot of the towns along here, down along Cohasset, Scituate, Hall, if the house is in a floodplain and there's no flood insurance and the house is up for sale, it can't close until there is flood insurance. We're trying to get a long-term program that looks at possibly bringing in more private insurance companies. There's a lot of pros and cons on that, one way or the other. Some of the cons being that people feel that the private companies would just cherry pick the low-risk areas. But from what we're seeing from some of the private companies that are involved, they seem to be going after a lot of the high-risk properties. The other things, mapping. There's a system out there called LiDAR. They use it a lot on automobiles now for the self-driving stuff. And this gives a more detailed picture of individual properties to make it easier to determine whether they're in the floodplain or not. Using GPS today with determinations on flood zones, it leaves it up to the individual homeowner to hire a surveyor and have them come in and do what's referred to as a spot survey to determine if the house is in a flood zone or not.
Yeah, I've had a surveyor on the show that talked about that process.
Yeah. It's a $500 bill that, could be avoided.
Yeah.
And then also with that, if we look at what it's costing the federal government, costing us as taxpayers, when there is a natural disaster like that, if we could take and do some abatement, use some of that money instead of spending it after the flood, spend it before the flood.
Right.
Get houses, elevate them out of the flood zone, or maybe convince the homeowner, buy the property and build someplace else.
Right.
A lot of people think that, you've got a house that's been flooded 4 or 5 times in the last 10 years. Why is it still there?
Yeah, I've been to some presentations. It's very complicated tensions.
Yes, it is.
On the
it
issue.
is.
Now, what is the deadline you mentioned?
November 30th of this year. They extended it. It ended July 31st.
So is that by extending it, you mean the current flood areas?
Yes. Yeah, the current standards
Okay,
in flood mapping
sure.
are carried to November 30th.
Okay.
And we're hoping that come November 30th that they'll at least do a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Make
And what was the other issue you were talking about?
Airbnb,
Oh, sure.
short-term rentals.
Yeah.
The state Senate and Congress had passed a compromise bill and sent it to the governor's desk, and the governor didn't sign it. He added an amendment to it. His amendment had several points. Probably the biggest point was that if you were renting your property less than 14 times during a year, you would not have to register with the Airbnb and pay the taxes and acquire the $1 million worth of liability insurance. So we have to wait till Congress is back in session to decide which way they're going to go.
Well, the state legislature.
State legislature,
Yeah.
yes.
So because of the amendment, my understanding is the whole thing didn't go through, it was put off.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, so
great,
it'll be something for them to talk about when they get back.
yeah. So I'm always amazed by the technology of realtors when they come into our offices, how far ahead they are of governments in a lot of ways.
Oh, there's
Tablets and the iPhones and
there's
PNSs flying around over the internet.
there are a ton of things out there.
Yeah.
There are more programs out there
Right.
and more apps than you can shake a stick at.
Right,
But it's almost a necessity today.
sure,
Particularly with the younger people coming up. A paper contract, it just really,
Right.
it's all electronic now.
yeah,
Electronic signatures. When I first started in the business, the first office I was in, we didn't even have a fax machine. So today with emails and Facebook and all the rest of them and electronic signatures, it does make it a little easier.
I know that in our case, and similarly situated operations, that the statutes don't allow you to move as fast as you can in the private sector. And the change that comes allowing the electronic, electronic notarization, things like that you guys do every day,
Exactly.
is not as reestablished yet in law.
Yeah. Electronic signatures have made things a lot easier and a lot more convenient.
Right,
I mean, particularly if you're doing a transaction with an out-of-state buyer.
right,
I had a client that was moving here from Montana in the last few weeks, and he and I were back and forth for a month, or actually 4 months. He came out for a weekend, looked at some houses, didn't see anything he liked, and so for the next 3 months, I would be out on different days and weekends videoing homes and sending him the video.
Wow.
So, I mean, it made, he had a little better idea
Sure.
of what he was going to do, and he wound up buying a house that way,
Oh, good.
and just closed on it 2 weeks ago.
So I know you're a relatively new chairperson. When were you sworn in?
I was sworn in December of 2017,
Okay,
and my tour will end December of this year.
okay. Any particular goals that you have left to accomplish before that time?
No, my big thing this year was pushing the professionalism of being a realtor, paying more attention to how we treat our clients and how we go about our business in an efficient and professional way, and maintaining the standards that's set by the Code of Ethics.
Civility in a world that is not always civil.
That is
That's
a
what
very,
comes-
very good description,
Yeah.
because, particularly in a market like we're in right now, tempers can run a little shy.
Yeah. So in our last couple of minutes, why don't you talk a little bit about your full-time job with Jack Conway and I know you work out of the Bridgewater office.
Well, like I said before, I've been with Jack for a little over 25 years. And in this market today, I almost feel kind of bad for the buyer. It's very high pressure. Interest rates are going up. We're looking at a 30-year fixed right now at 4.75. A year and a half ago, it was at 3.5. I would expect that possibly by the end of the year, or definitely by the early next year, it's going to be 5 or a little above. People are so used to 3 and 4% interest rates.
And they're still historically great rates.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, when you stop and think the late 80s, early 90s, people were paying 16, 17% for interest rates. But with our shortage of homes right now, the demand is there. I had a house. We had a house just this last week, entry level, $279,000 in Norton, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, on a 1/4 acre lot. Put it on for $279,000. It went for over asking in 24 hours. The first day of open house, there were over 20 couples through that house, and that seems to be the mainstay right now. Agents are taking listings on a Monday or Tuesday. There are no showings until Saturday and Sunday. They'll accept offers until Monday and give everybody an answer on Tuesday. And it's a bidding war. I've seen houses go for $30,000, $40,000 over the asking. It's tough for a buyer.
Well, I know there are a lot of topics we're going to leave on the table. I would love to have a conversation of your view of how you get more millennials into the market and how to increase the percentage of homeowners, particularly in these difficult times when values are going up. But unfortunately, we're coming to an end. So I'd just love you to share your contact information for our viewers.
Well, for South Shore Realtors, it's the southshorerealtors.com for the website. Their phone number is 781-826-5139. For myself, it's sdamon@jackconway.com, and my cell phone number is 508-962-4255. And like you mentioned before, I'm a full-time agent, and I'm available.
Well, great to have you back.
John, thank you very much.
Always a great conversation.
Appreciate the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So welcome back to the Registered Report. In this segment of the show, we always do something lighter in nature, some of our great Plymouth County history. I want to thank Steve Damon once again. He is the new chairperson for South Shore Realtors and a realtor for Jack Conway's office in Bridgewater. Did a great job describing what's going on in the real estate market and what South Shore Realtors are contributing. In this segment, we talk about holidays in August, National Chocolate Chip Day, which I'll circle back to in a moment. On the 4th of August, World Humanitarian Day on the 19th, and National Dog Days on the 26th. I don't think that's related to the dog days of August, but we have a couple of good stories to tell you about Plymouth County history. Related to National Chocolate Chip Day is a notable land record collection item from Ruth Graves Wakefield. She was the inventor of the Toll House cookie. The Toll House in Whitman was built in 1709 and served as a haven for road-weary travelers. Passengers in horse-drawn carriages paid a toll, changed horses, and ate home-cooked meals. The Wakefields purchased the Toll House Inn in 1930, and in 1933, Ruth ran out of baker's chocolate while making buttered drop-dew cookies, and she cut up some pieces of chocolate, put it in the cookie, and was so well received, she promoted that recipe. It was an accidental discovery, but became very popular. So popular that Nestle's bought the recipe, and that recipe is still on the packages for every Nestle semi-sweet chocolate morsels. Over the years, many famous people dined at the courthouse. The toll house burnt down on New Year's Eve in 1984, but the cookie lives on. It is the chocolate chip cookie is the official cookie of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Now, there's been a lot of talk about cranberries lately as part of the many changes going on in the world with tariffs and the battles between companies and countries about what we'll be paying tariffs on. And there were issues relating to cranberries, and the tariff obviously would affect the industry greatly, but it's certainly not the first time there were challenges out there for the cranberry industry. Our last elected congressman from Plymouth County, Hastings Keith, lived in West Bridgewater, was a member of the state senate, and was elected to Congress representing Plymouth County and Cape and Islands and Bristol County. And one of his proudest achievements as a congressman was the establishment of the Cape Cod National Seashore. But in 1959, there was a national rumor spread that cranberries were causing cancer due to the use of pesticides. He fought that rumor, had a lot of tests done on cranberries, and was able to quell that rumor, and our great cranberry industry continues today. There's a federal building named after Hastings Keith in New Bedford as a tribute to him and his efforts. And last but not least, in this summer moments, as people travel around to different places for their enjoyment, many people remember the old, great Paragon Park in Hull. It was located on historic Nantasket Beach, home to the tallest wooden roller coaster in the world, which still exists in another state, and the famous Paragon Carousel, which still exists in Hull. It offered a lot of different rides: the Congo Cruise, the Wild Mouse, the Giant Coaster, among other things, and was visited for generations. It is now not Paragon Park, it's now mostly housing, but in the words of the Friends of the Carousel, the memories still continue. And it was a reminder of the golden age of Hull. I want to thank Lorna Green Baker and Christine Richards for our office in putting this show together, Mike Simmons and Philippines from Brockton Cable Access by allowing this show to be taped, burned on CDs, and sent throughout Plymouth County. We can share information to people about what, for most people, is their most valuable asset. And now you can see our show on a link that you'll see on the screen through YouTube. So thank you to Brockton Cable Access and the many local providers who help us present this information throughout Plymouth County. Have a great rest of the summer, and I'll see you next month. Thank you.